Hello?
Good evening. I'm Donna Hartman, 112 Great West Loop. I know you can hear me. Uh, Dennis, I just wanted to say to you, welcome to the city. You're going to love it here. You have got a great staff. You've got a super hardworking council. We've got some of the best volunteers you'll ever work with, and we've got wonderful citizens. So we welcome you tonight. And Urian, I know this is your last night, and look at the grin on his face. Look at that grin. But I just wanted to say to you how much we have appreciated you. You have been a calmness in our city. You have a wonderful, wonderful worth ethic. You've got great common sense. And most importantly, you have a wonderful sense of humor, which I'm sure has gotten you by this. But I didn't want it to go unsaid how much this city appreciated everything you did for us. Thank you.
Following up on that, we do want to thank you, Ryan, for your presence here in the city for the last, 6 months, right, Ed? 5, 6 months, 7 months? 8. Oh, I didn't think you'd keep track of it that close, but anyway. I think there's a couple of folks that would like to say something else, and I'm going to start with Roxanne. Would you like to start it, please?
I would. So the staff and the council and the mayor and all of us are very thrilled to have had you. So I actually wrote an official document. So I'm going to read it to you. Whereas the city of Morgan's Point Resort, Texas is fortunate to have an interlocal agreement with the Central Texas Council of Government, whereas such agreement allowed us to acquire the services of Urian Nelson as interim city manager. And whereas Urian Nelson served the city of Morgan's Point Resort with dedication and thoroughness while maintaining open communication with staff, residents, the mayor, and the city council. Whereas Urian Nelson gave above and beyond in both time and commitment. Now therefore, we the staff, mayor, and council do hereby recognize Urian Nelson for his service to the city of Morgan's Point Resort, and we request all residents of the city to join us in thanking interim city manager Urian Nelson for his exceptional work.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. It was a pleasure being able to serve in the capacity I did.
Thank you.
Ryan said, please delete his cell phone number when you leave.
Okay, and then we did buy you a couple little things. Normally, I would not open your gift for you, but I just have to show you. There are 3 pictures in here. They're pictures of the city of Morgan's Point. This is the marina, and there's one of Oakmont Park, and there's one right down here by the cliffs. Well done. The staff have provided these for me so I could get them framed. And so we want you to put these in your office, and when you look out at the concrete jungle that you live by, you remember where you came from. Okay. And Jimbo couldn't resist. Your very own.
Gotta have wardrobe.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have to say what it is.
it's the shirt.
But
Yeah, so
Okay,
you're
you
kind of
can
the ad hoc leader of this Muppet show. It's Kermit the Frog.
I'd like to see the shorts to go with that.
And there's a gift certificate so you can go out to eat on your relaxing. And then, of course, you have to have a sign, a street sign made by our maintenance department. Urian Nelson Drive. Thank you.
I'll get out.
not yet, not yet.
We do thank you, Ryan. Thank you very much for
Really do.
your dedication. We appreciate it. Council, anybody have any other comments? Okay, we're going to move right along then. Is there any club organization reports? Does anybody want to say anything, library or any? Pam?
Pam Robinson, Mary Ruth Briggs Library Chairperson. I want to give you a report on elders. This month, May the 30th, The location has been changed to the library from the event center because there will be voting in here. We will be welcoming Colonel Thomas Jerry Curtis, who was a Vietnam prisoner of war, and will speak on his 7.5-year imprisonment, coffee and snacks and games. So please join us. And next month, June the 27th, we're honored to have our own Roxanne Stryker, who will continue her informative talks on diabetes with a program entitled Healthy Lifestyle Tips on Leaving. Not leaving, leaving. She might be telling that too, living well. Whoopsie. This will be at the event center. The utility department has generously donated a fire hydrant named Rusty, who is to be raffled off with the proceeds going to the Friends of the Mary Ruth Briggs Library, a 501c3 organization. You can view Rusty in the City Hall lobby and purchase raffle tickets for $10 each only at City Hall. This program started on May 13th, and the winner will be announced at the July 9th council meeting. Come say hi to Rusty and pat his little head there. Meet the Author, who is Jordan Petter, will be held on Saturday, May 18th from 1 to 3 p.m. in the library. Jordan will read her new children's book and have copies for sale. Everyone is welcome to attend and honor her. Cake and coffee will be served. And finally, we have a new program called Explore Your World coming to us June the 1st. This is a partnership between the fire department and the library. It is a program for children grades 1 through 5 and 6 through 8 to encourage them this summer to put down their phones and stop Googling information for everyday questions. Probably adults could get that too, I'm sure. We want to show you how your local library is a great resource for information and how to do it. Students will come to the library with their questions and research using our library catalog. This program runs from June the 1st and ends August the 10th, with awards presented on August 17th, with some nice prizes to be awarded for the 2 top students in each age division. So stay tuned for more information. I do have flyers on everything I had been talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Anyone else on clubs, organizations? Next thing, we're moving right along is the consent agenda. And Ryan, I think you said you wanted to say something on that?
So in the past, we haven't used the consent agenda, I don't think, as we could have. This time you'll see there are multiple items on the consent agenda, which are usually just typically the minutes. We did have some replats that were eligible to be placed on the consent agenda. That being said, there are 2 that actually need to be pulled, and one that needs to be fixed prior to approval. The 2 that need to be pulled are item F, which is the discuss and consider the replat of the McIntyre edition. That was on page 29. The reason that needs to be pulled is because it was originally submitted as three lots to be combined into one. The day after P&Z met and recommended approval, they resubmitted an application to make 4 lots into one. So P&Z's recommendation is not really valid because that's for 4 lots into one now. The other is item G, to discuss and consider the replat of the Gelser property. There is a lot of information in there. A lot of it is irrelevant to the request. There needs to be some clarification on some of the documentation that was provided. So that actually needs to be pulled as well. The correction that needs to be made is on consent agenda letter E, and that is to combine, where it says combine 2 lots into one on Dogwood Estates, that needs to read combine 3 lots into one on Dogwood Estate, and that's on page 22. The accompanying documentation shows that, but it is actually 3 lots. It was transcribed wrong onto the agenda.
Ryan, and as we get down to, I guess, H, if we could separate that on the consent agenda and vote for it separately, because I'd like to abstain from H.
See, I think if you just want to make a motion to pull H, and then once the consent agenda is done, once it's been voted on and approved, then as soon as the consent agenda item is done, we will move to item H in that order.
Do you want to move to remove, you make a motion to remove item?
I do.
Okay,
I'll
make a mo-
second.
All in favor, or any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item passes. So we'll remove item H and consider it individually. Now I need a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I have a couple little corrections on the minutes that I'd like to bring up and then accept it after that. Can I do that?
Okay,
So on page 2 of the agenda, it says proclamation was read by Susanna Bowden, but it doesn't say what it was for. And it was Volunteer Appreciation Week, I would like to have that just added in as proclamation for Volunteer Appreciation Week.
okay.
Would be
Let me
added.
get taken care of.
And then also on page 5 of that agenda, we had some discussion about the marina, and then it says council authorized staff to look at the marina rates to include per annum increase of less than 3%. I don't know that we actually voted on that. I think we discussed possible things that we were going to do, but I don't think we restricted. If I remember right, I do not think we made that statement as what we were, asking the staff to look at. So
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think it was just
Just a
a
request.
discussion item, and so I don't think it should be included in there, so you can just eliminate that. And then I would move to accept the consent agenda items with those two corrections.
Okay, we're
Is
going
that
to do
just for
that.
the minutes, or is that the rest of the consent agenda? Because I have a couple on C and D.
Okay, that's it, yeah, okay, so.
So on C and D, the resolutions, as far as the terms for both of those positions, are inconsistent within itself. Within the resolution, there's 2 different timeframes. So I just ask that those resolutions be made consistent within themselves, according to EDC and what the library
Right,
requested.
they both reflect from May 2024, from the approval date now to the end, to December 31st, 2025, which they didn't before.
Okay, so those are.
Those changes have been made.
Okay.
They're just not included in the packet. Camille has clean copy over there.
Okay.
Okay, very good.
Any other adjustments, additions, or corrections? Subject to those 2 changes, or 3 changes, do I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I move to accept consent agenda with changes made.
Second,
I'll second.
Dorothy, any discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Now, we'll go back to item H, H. And I hear a motion to accept item H.
I would like to make a motion to accept item H, taking a 4-acre lot and subdividing it into 2 lots, one being 1 acre and one being the remainder.
Second on that?
Second.
Okay. Now discussion. Now to make your adjustment. Well, how would you want?
I just want to abstain from the voting on that, just because of a personal relationship.
Oh, okay. Okay, so no correction other than abstaining. Anybody else have? Anything?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes, one abstention. Okay, moving along. Committee reports. Dennis, do you want to take that?
Of course, as we've done in the past, those are all provided in your packet. If you have any questions, you can ask, or if there's anybody from any of the committees that are listed that would like to come up and mention anything pretty high level or events that are happening that should be brought to the council or the citizens' attention, please do that at this time. And it looks like Linda from the EDC has something she'd like to say.
I just wanted to add a couple of reminders. One is for everyone to come out to our third Saturday market at John Ansay Park this Saturday from 5 to 7:30. It's one of our EDC projects to promote entrepreneurism in Morgan's Point. And the other one, also, we are going to have our first community engagement booth at the park to talk with residents and visitors on some of our ideas that we have for economic development and if they have any feedback to us. And then also, I put in my report that the EDC would like to meet with y'all. And if we could do that in maybe early June, best days for us are Wednesday or Thursday after work, 6 to 8 p.m., something like that. That was it for me.
Do you want to say anything on Summerfest?
Summerfest, yes, we're doubling up our food vendors, so come hungry.
Any other comments on committees or? Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, I know all y'all already, but I feel like the last week we've been playing that game where I like tell you something and it goes all around and see if it comes back the same way. The lake, what's wrong with the ramp is it's a fifth wheel. It's nothing to do with the lake coming up like Facebook says, you know, that the lake, the fifth wheel, during the summer when we were so low, there's about halfway down that ramp and it's all the bricks. And I brought that before y'all on I think during our stuff for last year to pass to try to get rid of the big bricks and make it lighter, you know, with aluminum. But I just wanted to tell y'all that it's the fifth wheel. It's nothing to do with the water. And we've had a ramp fall before while people were on it. So it just was, it's one of the things that as a group, we didn't feel like we should have the marina. I mean, we're open now, you know, for stuff, but not to like walk up and down the ramp. And we're not, before we've given rides before, we're not doing that. It's just safety reasons and stuff. But it had nothing to do with the rise, that the reason we shut the marina. It all has to do with the safety of 1 inch. I called today that they will be here on Tuesday. Monday, they're coming to turn all the electric off on the dock where it's at. And then they're supposed to put it all back together Tuesday. Thought they could do it one day. I don't think so. So anyway, we should be ready to go hopefully like by the 22nd or 23rd.
Is there something that you want Susanna to get out on Facebook?
Well, we're there just cleaning up and stuff like that. But people are bringing their kayaks and boards and getting to their own boats that way. You know, we're not, I know that was a big fuss, like, hey, they're keeping us from their boats. We're not keeping you from your boat, you know, so I don't want that to be done like that. And I'll get with you with something to put on there. And thank you again for having our backs. I told him that we really enjoyed having you to get news out for us. Anybody else got any questions about it?
Yeah, Ronnie, is the water in the parking lot yet?
Yes, sir. Probably about
The
4.
parking lot down is closed, right?
Sir?
The parking lot down below is
Yes,
closed.
sir. It's about 4 foot deep, I think. It may be 5 or something now.
Website that, yeah. They'll determine that when they drive down there, I'm sure. But thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Just want to remind folks, we are always looking for volunteers. So if you feel like you need to spend some time here at the city, we'd love to have you. Please contact City Hall and put your name in, and we'll tell you what's available. So please be generous with your time. We appreciate it. Do you have anything on?
I do have a quick update on Parks and Recs, very high level stuff, just because we have been actively pursuing some different things with the COG's help and with the city's help. As far as Ansay Park, we're pursuing a grant that closes on August the 1st. So we will be releasing a survey in Monday? Okay, we released it today. And so get a chance, take that survey, please, because it's going to help with the grant proposal. Another thing that was talked about is as far as the maintenance and trying to figure out some different techniques to get the maintenance on the parks itself. And so every third Wednesday at Priority Charter Schools where we're going to have our meetings up until January. Then we'll reevaluate. So please, if you want to come, be part of that because we would love to see you there. 6 o'clock. Third Wednesday.
Can we get that on the city calendar? Please?
So that's it. That's it.
Anyone else? Gary, anything? No? Fire, police, nobody here? Ryan? Dennis? Department reports, anything on the department reports? Okay, moving right along, we're still on our agenda, and the next thing, we have overlooked this in the past, but our Mayor Pro Tem found it, Ms. Stryker. Evidently, the Mayor Pro Tem is only elected for a period of a year instead of 2 years like the rest of the council. So at this time, I'm going to open the floor up to nominations for Mayor Pro Tem for the second year of the term. Do I hear a motion to accept?
I would like to nominate, Roxanne Stryker to continue as our mayor pro tem. I've talked to her and she's agreed to stay on. She's done quite a bit of training, not only on parliamentary procedure, but on the roles of mayor and mayor pro tem. She's taken over meetings when she needed to, and workshops, and I'm really happy and I hope she'll stay on for one more year.
Are there any other nominations?
Roxanne, did you want to say anything or?
No, I have enjoyed
Let me, hold on, is there any other nominations? Okay, no more nominations, I'm gonna close the nominations. Now, please have,
Well, I thank you for your vote of confidence, and I have really enjoyed the learning that I've done, and I have gone to lots and lots of information, TML, and I've read the handbook and, those type of things, and so I'm learning about parliamentary procedure, and every time I lead a meeting, I go home and I think, okay, now what would I do different next time? And I always find something, but I would run it better, so I've really enjoyed doing this, and I appreciate your vote of confidence.
okay, so I guess we are to vote since there's only one, but we could do it by acclamation. But let's do it by vote. All in favor of Roxanne being our Mayor Pro Tem, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Congratulations on another year.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have to change the sign.
I'm ready to turn some more stuff over to you. Just keep learning, okay?
All right.
Okay, next on the agenda is discuss and consider resolution 2024.12, accepting fiscal year ending audit September 30th, 21. Come on up.
Good evening, council.
Hello.
Good to be back. My name is Louis Breedlove, Senior Audit Manager at Brooks Watson. I had the pleasure of conducting the 2021 fiscal year audit. So happy to report that we were able to issue an audit report and getting the city back on track on their audits. I think you all have a copy of the audit report as well as the presentation and the 2 letters that come with the audit report. I'll be utilizing that printed PowerPoint presentation handout to go over the results of the audit. First, I do like to go over the audit process, give an overview of that process to give everybody an understanding of some of the things that are occurring during the audit process. And so first, we do perform the audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. And when we do the audit, we break it down into various phases. Now, the first phase being the assessment phase. So we come into the city, we sit down pretty much anywhere money is coming in or going out. We're evaluating the controls that are in place. We look to see if there's any documented policies, procedures, and things of that nature. And we also have those employees in those departments complete questionnaires to help us get an understanding of the controls and processes in place as well. And then we sit down with those folks to get a walkthrough, get an understanding of their day-to-day, how they do each process on top of that. And then in addition to that, we do a sample testing of each of those areas to ensure that what we see in practice is consistent with the policies, procedures, and that walkthrough to just gain understanding and full confidence of the procedures in place. And then from that, if we see any control concerns or anything from that nature, we would present it to and bring it to management's attention at that time. After that assessment phase, we move into our risk-based approach. What that is it drives the type of procedures we do. Each financial statement line item within the financial statements have a different type of risk, and that's going to drive our process over the audit to what level of detail we need to perform, what procedures we're going to perform for each of those areas, and will drive the number of sample selections we need to do as well. Once we do that risk-based approach, we move into that compliance testing. So we're looking at Public Fund Investment Act requirements, any bid requirements, grants, things of that nature. And then we read all of your council meeting minutes as well for the year to date to see if there's any aspect of our compliance component that may have been approved by you all that we would make sure that is being followed as well. After that, we move into what's we refer to as our fieldwork phase, or that's that after year-end phase where we are actually tying out the numbers for the year. So as for the balance sheet, we're confirming with third party wherever possible, performing cutoff procedures as well. And then as we're tying out the balance sheet, we're testing the material accuracy of your revenues and your expenses. Once we've done that, we move into that conclusion reporting phase. So it goes through various levels of review to ensure that no additional procedures are necessary. And then we prepare the report and the letters that we have for you this evening. Next, on that third page there, components of the annual financial report. So this is just giving you an overview of what's in that audit report. There's the auditor's opinion. That's our opinion over the financials. Behind that, your management's discussion and analysis. It's going to give you some year-to-year comparison and some high-level information related to areas such as capital and debt, budgetary items as well, and some economic impact as well. And then behind that, your basic financial statements. That's going to contain your government-wide statements or your full accrual statements. Behind that, your fund level statements. So those governmental funds, they run on a modified accrual basis, and so those statements are there. Then behind that are the notes to the financial statements. So that's going to give you a lot of detail pertaining to those numbers in the financial statements to help the reader have a better understanding of what those numbers consist of. Behind that is required supplementary information. So that's going to have your budget to actual for your general fund, grant fund. It's also going to have your TMRS, pension, and OPEB information. And then behind that's other supplementary information. As it relates to the auditor's opinion letter, there are 4 possible opinion types that we as auditors are able to provide. There's an unmodified, qualified, disclaimed, or an adverse opinion. And the city did receive an unmodified opinion. That's also often referred to as a clean opinion. And that's the highest level of assurance that we as auditors are able to provide. So happy to report that the city got a clean report. Never got an applause like that. That's,
And Carrie.
yeah, yeah. Well, we're happy to be able to. This was the heavy lift to get the city caught up, and so we're excited to move forward and get the city caught up. Moving on to some quick financial highlights. This is for the governmental fund specifically. This is year-to-year comparison looking just at the fund balance for the fund. So general fund, we saw an overall increase in fund balance of $250,000. That was bringing it to $2.1 million. That's primarily due to revenues coming in over budget for that year, as well as expenditures staying below budget. And we'll look at that again on the budget data page that we'll look at. In the grant fund, we saw an increase there in fund balance of $672,000, and that's just purely due to the new funds that came in for grants during that year. And then the non-major funds are going to be the couple other funds that do not qualify as a major fund, so they're presented as one fund on the front end. There is a breakout in the back of the report that gives you a more detailed look at each of those funds individually. But in total, there was just a small increase of $2,682 for the fund balance, so relatively consistent year to year. Next, looking at those budget results for the general fund. As I mentioned, revenues did come in over expectations. So the revenues came in $136,000 over what were expected, which is what you want to see. It's a conservative budget for the year. And then expenditures came in under budget by $167,000. Other sources and uses, that's gonna be like your transfers out. Those are sometimes harder to budget, but so there's a negative variance there of 67,000. But overall, there was a positive budget variance of 236,000 for the year. So assuming the city was able to accomplish everything they were seeking to accomplish for 2021, that was a sign of a healthy budget. As it relates to that second point on that slide there, it's as it relates to the unrestricted budgetary fund balance, we do, GFOA recommends that cities maintain at least 60 days or 16% of general fund balance or unrestricted budgetary fund balance as it relates to the operating expenditures for the year. And so what that means is if you were to look at your operating expenses and compare that to and expect that the expenses would be relatively consistent to that next year, how far would you be able to operate into that new year without receiving any additional funds? And so the minimum recommendation is 60 days or 16%. The city for 2021 was at 87%. So far exceeding that. Some cities do have policies in place that have a target or a minimum goal of 25% or 30% or even up to 50%. But even then, y'all are still over that target. So in 2021, it was fund balance was in a healthy position. Next, financial highlights for your proprietary funds. So that's going to be your enterprise type funds, your water, wastewater, and marina. For these, we do evaluate these more like a business because they operate differently than a governmental fund. And so we look at, is it self-sustaining? So for that, we looked at the operating income or loss, if there were a loss, and to see, is there a loss? And so in this case, happy to report that the water had a positive operating income of 460,000, wastewater 32,000, and the marina 114,000. So overall, that there were some other changes that were non-operating. So overall, the change in net position for the funds were increase for the water fund of 366,000. Wastewater was 64,000, and then marina stayed the same at the 114,000. So overall, those funds are operating, self-sustaining, and doing well. So no concerns or red flags identified there. Next, the communication letters. So those are the two other letters that came with the report. The first letter is referred to as a communication with those charged with governance. And so there's a lot of data in that letter, a lot of things that we communicate that are required communications. And there are a few key points from that letter I always like to point out. One, the audit was conducted in compliance with all ethics requirements regarding independence. Two, there were no difficulties encountered when working with management. And then three, there were no uncorrected misstatements identified. And then on the back end of that letter, any audit adjustments that were needed are included as an attachment on the back. The second letter is a communication regarding internal controls. This would be where if we had any recommendations based on what we tested, they would be communicated there. So there were a couple of recommendations made there that list out some recommendations on how those things can be improved, and many of those we've talked about in the past and y'all openly talked about. So, but no surprise items there identified in terms of what was recommended. With that, I open up to any questions you may have.
Council had this presentation at our workshop prior to the meeting, so there were quite a few questions. So that even though there may not be a lot of questions now, it's not that they weren't asked originally, okay? So if y'all have questions, additional ones, you want to make statements, you're certainly welcome to.
Well, let me just make a statement, and that is we didn't get these till last night, and I haven't had a chance to look at the financial statements yet. So I would like to, hold on any of my questions, but I do believe that Dennis and Carrie should be able to answer any questions I have on the financial statements. So,
Sure. Hey, but my contact information.
So I'm good for a public meeting, and once I have a chance to look at the financial statements.
You always open to questions, right, anytime. Yeah,
Right.
Anytime you need that.
Right.
And Dorothy, please feel free to reach out to me as well. My contact information is there. So if you have questions on the report, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sir, any other questions?
That'll do it.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you very much for getting us this far. Yeah, right.
Feels like a celebrity.
Okay. Right now, yeah. Thank you very much, boy. That was a long-awaited,
Yeah.
statement right there for us.
Great.
Okay, Mr. Council, do I hear a motion to accept 2024.12, which is the resolution to accept the fiscal year-end audit statement for September 30th, 2021?
I would like to table it to the June meeting if possible, to give us a chance to look at them. I mean, I don't know, has anybody else had a chance to peruse them?
No.
Yeah, can we table it till June, put it
Do
on
y'all want
the
to table
June?
it? It's up to y'all.
Well, I haven't looked at them yet, because I haven't had them. I've just looked at
I'm
the,
going to make a motion to do that, and get a second, we'll do it.
Could we bring it back? I would move that we bring this back to the June meeting and be ready to.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll just table it till June. Good. Okay, next, road study. Ryan, you have that one?
So I thought that our engineer was going to be here to provide an update, but I don't see him anywhere. My understanding is that you all may have seen the vehicle driving up and down the road. Unfortunately, we weren't made aware that the vehicle was going to be in town, so we couldn't share that with the public. But the road study, they have driven all roads in the city, and now it is to the point where they're going to do the analysis and prioritization, which takes another 3 to 4 months. This is part of the transition that Dennis and I have been working through and looking at those contracts. So he's aware of everything that's going on. Like I said, unfortunately, I don't have a solid update tonight other than they were seen in town. I disputed that they were seen in town and was proven wrong. So take that. Work has been done and is being done on the road study.
Will, forthcoming. Well, okay. What about the city development plan? I know you said you may want to do something on that too.
So that's another thing that I've been working with Dennis on, but I did send out an email. If you guys didn't receive it, please let me know. It's a Dropbox, and I anticipate that we will add all of the remaining chapters as they come in to that. I did make a special request for the Parks chapter and still haven't seen that come in. But these are things that Dennis will be tracking from here on out. He does have contact with the contact information for the consultants for Collier's Engineering to get this moved forward and finalized.
I just have a question on process. So I know we got about 5 chapters. Has the steering committee re-met to go over the chapters? And then when will we get the staff and EDC, and when will we get the appropriate departments to help review the draft?
So when I sent all that to council, those 5 chapters that I have, that was sent to department heads,
Okay.
all staff that needed to be part of this process, so that what can happen is all of that information can be compiled, so that we're not kicking this down the road for another year trying to get input from select groups at certain times. My understanding is that they've gotten the information from the steering committee.
I have heard that the steering
And-
committee does not have.
And some of that was included. I could be mistaken, but we can follow up
Okay.
just to get verification.
Yeah, if we could follow up, make sure this, we have a resident steering committee that, and as a part of P and Z too. So
Yeah, and not to steal the mic from Dennis, but I think there was such a long gap between the time the last steering committee met and now, that maybe some of those older comments had just been put in, and there may be even more that need to be included, but yeah, we'll follow up for sure.
I'd just like to say something about the comprehensive plan. Really, that document should have already been done long ago. So what I want to do is I want to get on the phone with whoever it is that's overseeing it, or their supervisor, and get a more definitive timeline. Really, you should be able, at this stage, see the whole document as a whole, and the community start making that awareness throughout the community to revisit what your vision was and how it materialized in the actual document itself. So just give us a little bit of time. We're definitely going to reach out to them and start finding out why we're still waiting on something that, was it 2 years ago? It's ridiculous. There's no reason for that. So we'll check into that.
yeah. Then we'll probably have a workshop on it.
We will, when we actually get the document, piecemeal it, right, I'll probably be retired by the time, second time around. So I'm just saying. So let me see, because this is not the way to do business.
Right.
I don't
Thank you.
think that's what y'all need.
Just a comment, I mean, we got 4 or 5 chapters, and, okay, I read a lot of stuff online too, but I want to see a hard copy of this thing so I can take notes and try to put it together. And we've got to figure out whether or not that study that's coming out has anything to do with what we decided was the vision that we wanted to make. Is that the old? We don't want to play this game for the next 200 years, but
Exactly.
if the comprehensive plan isn't in line with what we had put out for our new vision, I don't know what we're going to do.
And I think that's where
I mean, you can't kick it down the road, but you can't accept something that doesn't.
right.
No.
And I think that boils down to your original vision and your communication with the company doing the comprehensive plan. So when we get that, we send it back to the stakeholders and see if did they actually do the scope of work and what you expected. If not, then we'll take that from
I don't want to.
Keep in mind, Dennis has only been here 3 weeks, so,
I'm surprised
Two.
that you haven't had.
yeah. And so
Why haven't
give
you
him an
fixed this
opportunity
already?
to get his feet on the ground, and we'll bring this back up. So
I think we're going to have a series of meetings just to figure out what,
it may take that,
yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
If you want a hard copy, I went ahead and made one myself because I'm like you. I like to touch it and feel it and write on it. Maybe the staff could get a copy for Pat. What we
Dennis-
have so far.
Thanks for being proactive.
Yeah.
Because,
No problem. I just hope it works, and if not, you'll hear about it.
yes, sir.
From them, maybe.
Okay, moving along here. Folks, most of you were not here for our workshop discussion, but we had an Eagle Scout do a presentation for a flagpole for his Eagle Scout project. And I don't know, did anybody see these right here? Let me,
You can pass mine around too, so that more than one person can see it.
But since this is going to be constructed on city property, we do have to have we have to have a council approval of it. He's not asking for any of our funds. It's all going to be he's going to have his own fundraiser. So he's not asking for city funds, asking for funds, though, from individuals. So pretty nice deal. Look around at it if you have questions, but that was a good presentation for us. So anyway, council, I'm going to ask that, look for a motion to accept resolution, that consider that resolution approving the project.
make a motion, we approve it, his project.
Second?
Second it.
Second. Any further discussion?
I would just like to say for the audience that this young man came with a very thorough plan. He's got it all figured out, even to the dates that he intends to do things. And he's doing this in honor of his grandfather, who loved Clapas Park. And so it's an Eagle Scout project for him, and I am happy to vote.
He would have been here for the presentation this afternoon, but he is also on another committee, and he had a prior commitment. Otherwise, he would have done a presentation today. So he's an active person.
And he's also
and he will
so
be-
thoughtful. Oh, go ahead.
And he's going to dedicate it the morning of the Summerfest. And so, really,
Right.
just a really, he's done a very great job organizing this.
And he's asked Hugh Shine and Buckley to come. He's gotten a yes from Hugh Shine and maybe
Brad Buckley.
Brad Buckley. I'm so sorry. Yes. So
And he
he
did
is
not ask
very
us-
thorough.
He did not ask us for any money, and if he's doing any kind of fundraising, I think we want to make sure it gets distributed so people can contribute. Because if you look at what he's doing, it costs more than $1.25, I can guarantee it.
Yeah.
A motion to accept that plan? We did. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, moving right along. We're going to have a executive session here in a few moments to discuss something, but there's a couple other things. Ryan, do you want to, do you want to have any updates that you would like to keep us informed on?
I didn't do the standard typical, here's my one-page blase. I just kind of wanted to go through and touch base. You know, over the last 8 months, there's been a lot that's been done. In this capacity, we assisted with the recruitment efforts for the city manager, the coordination of those efforts, easy, nothing to it. We did execute the agreement with Cobb Finley a couple months ago for the road study. Hopefully that'll come to fruition for you all before you retire and before you retire. We identified that we have some water concerns, and we've worked on kind of addressing that, and then worked with the audit firm and staff to get the FY21 audit report issued to you guys. Currently, there's a lot going on in the city, and I've been working with Dennis on a lot as I transition. But the big things, big ticket items right now, I would say, are water availability, flooding concerns, speed limits and stop signs haven't gone anywhere. We'll be in this transition. We've been talking with staff on looking at ways to identify where speed limits could possibly be slower, where stop signs may or may not be needed. We've worked on the FM 2483 master plan with Temple. We just haven't been able to share any of that yet. The FM 2483 sidewalk project, of course, that was awarded. We only have until, I want to say, December 2026 to spend those funds. TxDOT is actually going to assist with the procurement process for that. We were kind of waiting on a project that Temple had submitted with the MPO before moving forward with that, because we didn't want to put a sidewalk in, then the roadway get widened and rip the sidewalk up. That project unfortunately scored about number 30 in the region, so it probably won't be funded for about 10 years. So I think we're safe to move forward with the sidewalk project. And then, of course, the Ansay Park improvements that Parks and Rec and some COG staff and city staff are working on together. During this transition, I've been in regular meetings with Dennis and some of the other staff. I'll remain available, except for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I'm on vacation tomorrow. Not going to change my phone number like I did threaten to do. But I'll remain available, in case Dennis or any of the staff have questions, or the council on some of the historical things or things that have happened over the past, what was going to be 2 months that turned into 8. But I'm happy to provide that. And then I'll start working on collecting all the documents that I have stored on our drive at the COG, so I can get them over and transferred over to the city. With that, I'll just kind of open it up. I'd like to open it up for Dennis to kind of speak on what he sees coming in, and it's good. As you saw with me, I had a set of eyes that came in from somewhere else. Well, he's coming in from somewhere else too, and he's able to identify things that, as I was jumping into the fire, that I wasn't able to identify. So it's kind of given him a little bit of leeway to see some of those things that I wasn't able to see when I got here and move forward with that process.
Dennis, have you been in his office? I don't know if anybody been in his office. He's got a board up there that has about 800 items that he wants to address. So he's kind of looking for some guidance. And Dennis, I'm going to let you take it from there. I know you said you would take it from there. And
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. There are, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Ryan. Well, first, thank you for the council and the community, the fact that I'm here, and I really do appreciate that. Your Ryan's been critical to understand what's going on. Staff has been very well informative as well. But be honest with you, there is a lot going on in the city, and some things, there's some challenges, there's some heavy lifting, and I'll use the same wording the auditor talked about earlier. There's some things that are not being done that really we should be doing as a city. I'm not looking over the shoulder other than trying to find situational awareness to understand our path forward. And there are some things we do need to take care of. And I think that, I guess what I'm looking for is some direction on, I kind of work from this philosophy. We can do pretty much what's been done, and doing the same thing pretty much will produce the same results. Or we can look at, perhaps looking at some of the things that need to be done, required to be done by state law, federal law, and or just good governance. And I think that's ultimately what you're looking for in the community. That will also build credibility, transparency, and a better city and more responsive to the community. And there's a lot of things on that list. I mean, you mentioned the marker board. I don't think there was 400 or 600. I think it was more like, a couple dozen maybe. but they are heavy lifting. But it is heavy lifting, and I don't want to make any I don't want to make light of that. But I do think that the staff is willing to learn what they don't know about, because some of them came from the private sector, some of them, all of them have knowledge, skills, and abilities that will help us get where we want to go. And I'm very impressed with the staff. I like them. I think they've got a good team spirit, and I think we can get some things done. I love the council and the mayor. I think you all definitely want to see the city move forward. I think there's a path forward. But how I spend my time, how they spend their time, can be either what we're doing, or maybe a modification, or really do what we really need to do to get the city where it belongs. And while it is a heavy lift, I think everybody's up to it, from you all to the staff and to my office, myself as well. So I guess that's what I'm looking for, a little bit of direction, how you all want me to spend my time. And that's the ask.
And we don't have to discuss that tonight. We can go by and see Dennis during the week and just discuss this with him. Look at the things that he has on the board, see if there's something that sticks in your eye that you think we need to address. You know, and we can do that, and we come up with suggestions if y'all want to.
Well, I think our work plan's a good
And-
starting point,
Yeah.
the 23, 24 work plan with our priorities, and the goals may need to change, but the big priorities,
Yeah.
I think.
The work plan is very sufficient, but some of these other things won't be able to be, the work plan can't be can't be worked on in the right manner without some of these other things going around. And that's where I'm saying, we are lacking on a lot of policies and the procedures in place to execute those policies. And these aren't options. These are things the state mandates. So I want to stress the urgency of some of these things. So that's where I don't mind taking, the work plan, I've definitely got that in fact, it's something on my conference table now. I know where it needs to go. But I also know what the state requires of us. I also know that there has to be policies and procedures, both procedures to ensure those policies are being met. So I don't want to underplay it. I want to make sure you understand that work plan is important, and I want to accomplish what I can, but some of this stuff's a baseline, or you ain't going to get much done at all. It's just going to basically be, so what I would like to do is I'd like to go ahead and get moving in the direction and focused and get staff getting some of the stuff done. And I can have a pretty good return in 6 months if that's what you all want to do, and evaluate me however.
All on board on that, don't you think? I mean, that's without having any specific, just leave it to you to take it as it materializes. And some of that
We
stuff
wanna be
may
in compliance.
take precedence
Yeah.
over something else because of some timelines or something, but you'll be the one to make that judgment.
And that will work, I think it'll work best, and you're going to be very much involved. So we'll get that communication going. You won't be left in the dark. You'll know ahead of time, at any time, myself, I can convey it, or it's in my office, there's a timeline for council actions. We're already looking for 6 months ahead, 4 months now, but we'll be looking further. But yeah, I think that's, if we, I don't know, let's use 2. If we can pull that off and start getting some of this stuff knocked out, you will get where you want to go. And I think 6 months, you'll look back and say, yes, we made a lot of progress. But if there's no sense of having a policy, if you don't have the procedures to keep it going, that's kind of like why it's not sustainable in years past. So I think we can get there where everybody works together, and that's what I needed, and I appreciate it.
Hopefully, every council meeting, we can scratch off 2 or 3 of those items.
Most
so we can see what progress we're making.
Most definitely.
I appreciate it
Dennis,
very much,
do you
Dennis.
think you could send us like a bullet point email with just some of these?
I'll do that, but and there's a lot of things that are interrelated, but just let me give you an example. Grant policy. We got an interlocal agreement, which is great, but there needs to be a grant policy on how, you just don't apply for any grant because you can. You got to make sure it fits with your work plan, where you're wanting to go with the community. So that's one. Personnel policy is something that's lacking. I've heard that before. It definitely needs to be done up to where it belongs. Investment policy. State mandates it. We're using public funds. We need to make sure we have one from years past. It needs to be updated and brought before you all and adopted. Everything from procurement policy. It needs to be robust and in accordance with state law. You've got how the fund balance, we just talked about it with the auditor. We need to have a fund balance policy that's realistic, and we need to understand the restrictions and/or some type of funding mechanism for your capital improvement program. I'm just going to use an example. What I look at, if you got excess funds and your fund balance is adequate, then you should be able to move anything above Once your revenues and expenditures at the end of the year's done, and you've got, let's say, 200,000 left over, that should roll over into a capital improvement program. So you've got some seed money that you go ahead and carry out. You don't need to keep building your fund balance up. We need to start focusing on some of the drainage issues. I'm just using that as an example because here of late, that's a big thing. But those are the kind of things, financial audits, how it's managed, donated funds, capital outlay. There's all kinds of things that have to be done in order to get you on that work plan where you want to go. It's doable, but we got to start somewhere, and I need to do it in earnest.
One bite at a
Dennis has
time.
a handle on it, so let's let him take it from there, and we'll proceed on that basis right there.
I don't think anyone's opposed to workshops to make sure we're all going in the same direction.
And I will need to be that, even the budget's coming up, and there's going to be some budget
We're going to have
workshops.
plenty of workshops with the budget and everything. You'll have all you want.
Yeah.
So we're going to adjourn for executive session in a moment, but does anybody on the council want to make some comments while the citizens are here?
There were some items for future agendas that we have listed here, and I wanted to comment on a couple things that I would like.
Okay.
Okay, well, obviously, the audits are going to come up next time again, because we tabled them just for a month. But we talked about marina rates last time, and I thought we were going to be discussing some of that at this meeting, and it's not on the agenda. And I know that,
Well, that's because Dennis is new. I think it's scheduled for
yeah,
June.
and I know that Mr. Snow, we've
We're
asked.
going to do that in June. I know, but since you were new, not had a chance to
So I
look
guess
at it.
what I wanted to see is if we could have marina rates, water rates, on.
Enterprise funds.
The enterprise funds on the next agenda, but also we need input from the staff, the department heads who run those departments.
Yeah.
We'd like their recommendations, and if they could bring that to council, that
What-
would be great.
Yeah, what the ideal way of doing that is, department heads certainly have a role to play in that, but what you should do is create what's called a master fee schedule.
Okay.
And that master fee schedule will cover the enterprise-wide, and then with a recommendation, what is currently at recommendation, and then, but I also want to give you some options for some of these more specific things that have not been addressed in several years.
Okay.
But the master fee schedule should always be a part, just like a CIP that you look at before the budget process starts, so we can build it into the budget, because right now, we're looking in isolation of one thing or another, but it really needs to be a master fee schedule look.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
so that could.
It's on the radar, Roxanne. I'm sorry we didn't get it on there, but we just didn't have enough time to get it to where he felt comfortable to present it.
Then a second, we talked about the road study today, and hopefully that will come up again. And I would, if it would be okay with y'all, I would like to invite, we have a local resident who sent us all a letter just a couple months ago. And he has civil engineering experience, he works with roads, and he has offered to volunteer to help and help us in kind of our planning, road planning. He also, he sent it to all of us on council, and he does roads and engineering for the last 30 years. He went to the city of Waco and did a presentation for them. So he said he felt that there were some things that he could bring to us that if we understood, it might help us save some money on the roads. So if I mean, if it's okay with everybody, I would contact that gentleman. And
Can I get that
I'll
to
give
me?
you the letter, yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. And so we can do that. So that was mine for next time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then, so I agree on the rates, and especially marina rates. I know water rates are a little more complicated. And then we had talked about the leave policy and the catastrophic leave policy. I don't want to drop that. I want to carry that over the finish line. And then the roads, you mentioned this, Ryan, the roads that need traffic signs. We talked about that in February and then March, and we've got real concerned residents, so I want to keep that top of mind. And I can send you a couple emails on that from the
Okay.
past.
Okay. Okay.
Any comments, folks? I guess we go on.
I'll just make a comment. First, I'm very excited to welcome Dennis Baldwin as our city manager. I really feel like what God has led him to us, and I think we're going to have a good city as a result of that.
Thank you.
And I also just thank the citizens, the residents. The more I work here, the more I like the place. And I do, again, just thank you, Ryan. He was invaluable and really a critical time in our city. So I'll say that for comment.
Ditto.
I'll ditto that. Dennis, we're thankful that you're here. And then you, Ryan, The-
You'll miss us.
Pat,
he already blocked me. I can't even call him. He blocked.
Pat, do you have
Okay.
any comments? Okay. Folks, thank you all for being here. We are going to adjourn for executive session. We're going to ask that you clear the premises, but we will re-adjourn as soon as we get through. So if you would like to stick around, we will probably reconvene in about 30 minutes. But thank.
He never does.
There will be no action taken after the meeting, so we're not going to take any action on it. So whatever is where we're at is where we're at right now. This is our discussion. So we're going to adjourn. The state allows us to meet in executive session under section 551071 and 551073, which is the purchase of property and also the meeting with our legal consultant. So thank you all for your being here. Okay, it is 7:33. We have a... Okay, folks, it's 7:33. We are reconvening our regular session. After our executive session, nothing was decided, nothing was voted on. So I don't hear a motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, folks, for being here. We'll see you next week.